What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of this Ain't Your Ordinary podcast with your girl and your host, Rissa G. This is episode 25, and let's just hop right into it. Y'all would not believe. My drink spilled on some wires. I was like, whoa, disaster. But disaster avoided. How are y'all doing? How are we doing? This is the drink. Like I said, I'm trying to be more consistent. I'm trying to create like a more sustainable schedule for myself. You know, this year I've kind of taken on a lot, and I'm really just trying to downscale and just, readjust my schedule and include things that I care about more, not just work. I've been working a lot, and I love doing this pod, man. I love having these conversations, and I don't do it for money. It would be nice. Imagine being a podcaster, like being paid to be a podcaster. I would love that. But it's okay though that I don't get paid. I generally, obviously, I'm a talker. I love having conversations. I have conversations. If you know me, if you work with me now, I'm a talker. These conversations I have on the pod, I have in person. So it's an honor, it's a privilege to do this and to have the time, the means, the space to do this. So I'm trying to be more consistent. This is 4 in a row. Will 4 in a row, will weekly pods, should that be expected? I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't know. I don't like giving promises and then pivoting, because then it's like, oh, well, you said. No, I never said that. So I'm not gonna say every week, but I'm gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna see how my schedule goes, how I'm feeling, how I'm doing, and we'll just take it from there, man. Right? How are we all doing? Hope we're all doing good, hydrated, and educated. Let's hop right into the main segment, man. So we've been building a lot in these last few episodes, and off the first episode, I already knew. I'm sure, there are some thoughts about this, and I've even seen this on social media, right? People who didn't vote. Are you happy now? Right? And I didn't vote, and I think the question is, was that a mistake? Was that a mistake? No. That's a no for me. Nothing about what has happened has been unexpected. Nothing about what has happened has moved me in a way where I feel like, damn, had I just voted, right? Nothing that I've seen has really changed my perspective on politics and the government, right? Because I am not going to just I will talk about Kamala, but I'm not going to just make this about an individual. This is a systemic thing, and I'm not, just because Trump won and he represents theoretically a part of politics, doesn't mean that the government as a whole is a thing for me to still believe in. I don't believe in it. I think, historically even speaking, people who die for us to get the ability to vote, I think they did do that, right? They died for us to get the ability to vote, but I think it's twofold with that as well. I think they were fighting for something that they, up until that point, must have believed in. Surely if blacks can vote, we can have an influence on how blacks are treated, right? We can have an influence on the policies that affect us, right? And I mean, that's a fair thing to feel or believe and to fight for, but I don't feel like that's true. Maybe it was once true, but it's not true to me today. I don't know if it's ever been true. I think they've always moved the goalposts for black people in this country. They always have. And we talked about that a little bit in our last pod. It doesn't matter what you achieve and what you do or how far you go. They're always moving the goalposts. You think you've made it into the same building with them, and then they'll evacuate the building and go somewhere else, right? I also think the other side of, those who came before us and who fought for these rights for us is, I think that we should have I think based on what they fought for, I think we should have the ability to choose whether we want to use it. I think having it should be a fundamental right. Whether you use it or not should also be a right. Because one, I'm sure there are white people who don't vote, but I haven't looked at the data, so I don't know factually, but I mean, come on, like there are white people who don't vote. But I do think the pressure is on us more because of, again, an assumption that our vote has power and will enact change of some sort. And I don't buy into that. I don't. And that's me. That's just a me thing. I'm not trying to influence anyone else, but this is a personal choice that I've made, and it's a personal perspective that I have. Yeah. And I think the biggest, I don't know if it's the biggest part, but I think a part of as well my decision to vote or to not vote, and in this case it was to not vote. It also came from what I knew was going on globally and domestically, and I felt like I could sleep at night not voting. I couldn't sleep at night voting for Kamala. I just couldn't do it. I knew what was going on internationally. I cared about that. I'm not coming for anyone. I'm not saying that people who voted for Kamala didn't. I'm saying I'm taking all these things into account, right? Like, I knew what was going on in Gaza, what had been going on, what they had allowed to happen, right? What was going on in Haiti, what's still going on in Haiti, Congo, Sudan, Syria, like so many different places where things are happening. And I wasn't ignoring that. I was really invested in that and following all of those things. And I knew that that's a reflection of the character of our government, and it was a reflection of things that they were also doing here, because people were dying in the U.S. That the government was taking people's lands, like seizing people's lands. Like I forgot what had happened, and they just took random people's lands. Like a natural disaster happened. They just took people's lands, right? Cop City is something that was happening before Trump got into place, right? The development of almost super cops and the perpetuating of that, right? I think and even beyond that, I'm just naming things that all from my head that I could think of, but I don't think that I buy into anything politicians say anymore, because how do you parse what's true and what's not? So I think I just don't vote. I'm not involved with politics. I'm not saying that. I think we all should be involved with politics because politics affect us on every level, but I don't think voting is the only way to have your voice be heard. Quite frankly, in my opinion, I feel like it's almost the least effective way to have your voice be heard. But that's just me. That is just me. And I think that kind of takes me into my next topic. Well, not my next topic, a continuation of what we're talking about. Like, let me get this off my chest, right? And I think I have to be careful with a lot of things I say, because a lot of what's happening in our country, in the U.S. today, is affecting people on an individual level. And I get it. And it's wrong. It is wrong. And I'm not a Trump supporter. I've said that many times. I'm not a Trump supporter. I don't support really anyone in the government. Anyway. But I understand why everyone's up in arms, but I've been up in arms with the government before Trump and with Biden and Harris when they were allowing genocide to take place. And I think that really influenced how I felt about voting, man. And I said this when the election was going on, and I feel this way now. It all has to matter. It can't just matter when it's happening in my country. And terrible things are happening in our country, and they are horrific, and they are atrocities, and I hate what's happening. I hate the harm that's being inflicted on so many different people groups who are not deserving. No one is deserving of anything that's happening right now. But there are as bad atrocities happening internationally because of our government. That was happening before Trump, and there is some consistency from some people that I've seen, but most people didn't know or didn't care. That's just another word that's being fought that we're paying for, mind you. That's just another thing. People were brushing it off. People were calling it a war, a righteous war, a religious war. A lot of American Christians were siding with Israel, siding with our government's involvement over there. And those were things happening before Trump ever took office, and I can't ignore that, man. I just can't ignore that. And I can't think that just because if Kamala was in office, we're assuming none of these things domestically would have happened. That's a good assumption. That it's quite true. It's quite possible that could be true. But overseas, we still would have been involved in the same things. And if you don't think that matters, if you think that's okay, then there's something wrong here. It's the choice I'm being forced to make. It's to choose between a genocide or a rapist. Someone who condones a genocide or a rapist who also condones genocide. That's not a fair choice, and I don't want to play that game. I'm not going to play the game of, your vote still matters when the government is going to do what the government wants to do. The government is not doing. When is the last time the government has acted in our favor? Come on. If the system is set up for evil, if the system is set up for the outcome to be in the favor of the government and the government only, what am I doing here? And people really felt like Kamala was going to make a difference. Kamala was going to make a change. Kamala. She was just pinned up and promoted up as just not Trump. We really didn't have much faith and belief that what was Kamala going to do that was different. This isn't about her being a woman, and she only identified as black when she started her race for VP and for president. So, as far as we know, she always identified as Asian and mixed. So it's not about her being Asian or mixed. It's not about that. It's about, I don't want to be forced to choose between one evil or the other. I'm not going to do that because I don't think it makes a difference. And that's my belief. And I'm voting based on my belief. Like, at the end of the day, Trump is just a face. Trump is only being allowed to do stuff within the workings of our said government. Where are the checks? They're supposed to be checks and balances. Where are they? Exactly. Like, where are they? Like, do we just think the government just today, just within Trump's administration, became corrupt? The system has made it where this is possible. I don't want to participate in a system where this is possible. And I don't, and I know I sound like the craziest conspiracy theorist, sue me. But I don't think they want us to see the connectivity of it all. I talked about the divisive measures. They want us to fight Kamala, Trump. It's bigger than both of them. Blue, red, left, right, up, down. Who cares? Who cares? They're all inflicting harm upon people. They all do not care about us. Neither side cares. It's all dehumanization, just in a different form. And they don't want us to see the connectivity of it all. And I have no problem not participating and having wishful thinking that, and let me be clear, I'm not saying the government has to care about me, Sharissa, on an individual level. That's impossible. It doesn't happen. It doesn't even happen really on a local level, for real. It doesn't happen. But can there be some kind of moral good standing and character within someone? I'm not even asking you to be a Christian. Could you just be a decent human being that cares about other human beings? Can that be the bare minimum for me to have to vote for you? Because I'm not seeing any of it, and that's fine. If any president or any VP in Kamala and Biden's position would have also supported Israel, then there is a problem. There is a fundamental issue with this government and with this country. If we are saying any person in that office would have done the same thing and made the same decisions, then we have a problem here, ladies and gentlemen. We should not normalize this. This is not okay. How you treat other people has to matter, because guess what? How they treat other people is a reflection of how they will treat you. You are not special. Nothing about you is special. You are just another number. You are just another person. And they don't care about people. Our rights were already being diminished less and less from when the kids were protesting against Israel, and you think you have a First Amendment right, and then they go and create a law that says you can't speak out against Israel unless, and that now that's becoming illegal. And this goes back to what I said. Law is based on an honor system. It will only be upheld if they decide to uphold it. They can eradicate the whole thing if they want to. Now, you're not allowed to really protest or talk about certain things lest you be arrested, because your First Amendment right has conditions. Law is only what they say it is. And I'm supposed to vote for what? For what? That happened before Trump. That was happening before Trump. They were targeting the First Amendment right before Trump. Misinformation was happening before Trump. I'm not going to focus on an individual when it is, in fact, and has always been and will continue to be until we stop it, a systematic problem. Like, you think Trump is powerful enough to do all this on his own? Like, what are we talking about? You have a government that fosters an environment where this is normalized. This behavior and these atrocities are normalized. And I'm supposed to vote for what? What am I voting for? Right? Like, what am I voting for? Tell me. Tell me what I'm voting for. And I don't think I'm asking for too much to have a government that cares about people. That's it. That's it. That's it. Because ain't nothing that has been done on either side of the board that has been in the benefit of people. Who are you representing making these terrible decisions? You can't get rid of, student loans and give us universal care and all these different things because the country's too big. It's too many different states. Each state is like all these excuses I'm hearing time and time again. But you don't have a problem taking all of this money from wherever it came from and go and giving it to a war. And don't think I forgot about all the money they gave Ukraine. Don't think about that. So you over here funding your own international agendas, and I'm voting for what? What's going to change for me when I vote? What's going to change for my people when I vote? Nothing. Okay. What's going to change for people in general when I vote? Okay. Nothing. What are we doing here? What are we in fact doing here? I mean, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not going to lie. I'm not sorry. And this is my position. And I get if people disagree, people vehemently disagree, I couldn't be further. That's fine. I'm going to be on this hill. I'm not trying to die on no hill, but I'm going to be on this hill. I just don't see the point. I really don't. And again, I'm not influencing anyone. I think everyone should do what they feel like is best. Everyone should participate in politics how they feel is best. I do think we need to be educated. I do think we need to be informed when we're making these decisions, for sure. But I've watched enough videos of kids being murdered and brutalized in Gaza, whereas I can't unsee that, and I can't with good conscience vote for the VP who was in office and while campaigning was, pro-Israel. promoting pro-Israel rhetoric and also pandering to blackness. I mean, come on. Like, no. Like, that's just obnoxious. It's just obnoxious. And it's unacceptable. And I think really what I'm trying to do is hold the government to a standard, and I feel like that's what we should do as a collective. But I know in my heart of hearts that the government fundamentally cannot, and well, they can change, but they won't right now. Right now, they will not be changing. Right now, the moral compass of this country is a whack because the spiritual guidance of this country is a whack. And it's all in one. So we have a country and a government that is pro their agenda. They don't do things pro people. They're anti people. They instate things that only further oppress people, but we don't talk about it. Why are so many people in debt? Why are so many people owe so many student loans and all that? Where do you think that came from? Okay. Why can't most people afford to buy a house? Why is minimum wage so low? Why are so many black bodies disproportionately in prisons providing free labor? Up until they started deporting and dehumanizing immigrants even further, why were immigrants on farms all over the country farming and doing all that for like $100 a month? Why was all that happen? Trump did that? Like, I think he's a terrible person. And I think he's a terrible president. But honestly, he might be a great president, because what defines a good or bad president anymore? I don't know. Is a good president someone that, like, doesn't overtly do stuff that is in the news or that we care about? Like, what defines a good president? I think he's a terrible man. Terrible. And I think he has pushed and perpetuated harm on every single level. But he is not the problem. He's a problem, but he is not the problem. And I don't think that we should lie to ourselves or let them lie to us and make them feel like it's an individual thing. I keep saying a ploy of white supremacy is to individualize systematic problems. And they do it time and time again. They continuously have us fight over candidates when the problem is the system itself. It's not about the damn candidates. Bump the candidates, bro. That don't matter for real. What matters is the country we live in. Things like, there should be no reason that you create student tuition because of integration. Now we're all in debt. That should be able to be wiped out. We should be able to get universal health care. The prison system should be they have 4 goals of prison. I don't remember all of them. Google them. But it's for positive things, you would think. But it's the opposite. It doesn't help. The recidivism rate has been sitting at 66% for years, meaning people go back to prison 66% of the time. And in prison, you're using those bodies, all of the bodies, to provide free labor. You're abusing and taking advantage of people. So much harm happens in prison, mentally, physically, emotionally. Other countries have prisons that actually rehabilitate people and help people and support them and put them back into society where they can contribute, not dehumanize them, strip them of everything and put them back out there, hoping for what? The best? Those are problems that are systematic to our country. How much crime happens because of poverty? Because someone is hungry? Because someone feels like they don't have a choice? These are not problems that Trump created. And I'm not saying Trump is not a problem. I'm saying Trump is not the problem. And this is all of this that I'm talking about is why I did not vote. I'm not going to put all my eggs into the basket of someone or some entity when I know that this is why I can never be a president, because it doesn't matter who you are or your intentions. Like, you cannot come into that office and just be pro you and pro your agenda. That's not how it works as president. Again, that goes to my point as to, y'all think Trump could do this on his own? The system allows for this. The system is not broken. The system is functioning quite well. It's a well-oiled and run machine. Again, don't like Trump. Think he's terrible. And I think people who are pro-Trump have a lot of self-reflection to do. And I think that their character and how they view the world has to align with how he views the world. That's the only reason you can vote for someone like that. But as for me, I feel like if I vote for either, I'm just okay with either. Well, I never considered voting for Trump. But like Kamala, like, I don't believe in you. And I don't think you're a good person. And I don't know if I should expect politicians to be a good person. But I think it brings into question the idea of morality and those things, honestly. Because if you're not a good person, if you don't see the world in a morally good and just way, the way I see the world, then you're going to be okay and make decisions from that moral compass. And if you don't value human beings and human lives, then fundamentally, then how can I be okay with you as a president? I think that's pretty much what I'm saying. And that's how I still feel. I don't regret not voting. I would do it again. I hate the place this country is in, but I saw this coming on pods previously. I said a civil war is coming. A civil war is impending. And I think they've been doing a lot to try to expedite it. And I think Trump has the only expedited stuff that I feel like was always going to happen. So that's just where I'm at. Anyway, this has been fun. 4 episodes in a row, man. Hard at work, but love y'all. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, leave comments in the comments. Do not hit me up. Do not text me if you know me. DM me. DM the podcast page and all of that. This ain't Your Ordinary Podcast. This was fun. Until the next one, y'all stay good. Y'all stay safe. Y'all stay hydrated. Y'all stay educated. Peace. What's up, y'all? Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all of that. Help your girl out. Share it to your auntie. You know what I'm saying? I ain't here doozies. Peace.